Rogers TV.
And hello and good evening, everyone. We are now live on Rogers TV. Welcome to the Bruce-Grey-Owen Sound All Candidates meeting. Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to our candidates up on the stage. We're going to meet them momentarily and get their names, get their opening remarks. First, though, I just want to go over the format for tonight's All Candidates meeting. Firstly, this is a question and answer format. It is not, in fact, a debate. They will be answering questions from myself, the moderator. My name is J.C. Coots. Pleased once again to be working with the Owen Sound Chamber of Commerce and bringing you one of these all candidates meetings. Secondly, we will be asking you for your questions here tonight as well. When we get into the opening remarks, our candidates will each have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and give their opening statements. We are going to donate the first hour or so to some prepared questions that I have. I have 6 questions for the candidates. And then if you have a question that you would like to answer, our volunteers from the Owen Sound Chamber are going to be walking around with cards, pens, and pencils. They're holding them up right now. So if you do have a question that you would like to answer and fill out one of the cards, just put your hands up. They will make their way over to you so that you can write down your question. At the back, they'll be going through the questions, making sure we don't have duplicates or anything like that, making sure we don't have questions that have already been asked and all the questions are relevant for the candidates here tonight. Some other things to notice. Number one, we will have a time limit. It could be up to 2 minutes to answer questions. Candidates will also have a minute for rebuttals as well. We're going to try to focus for 90-second answers during the first round of questions so we can get as many of the prepared questions in and then try to get as many possible questions as we can from the audience tonight. We do have timekeepers who will let you know, and they will hold up a sign when you've got 30 seconds left. That sign looks like that. And when you have run out of time, you will get the stop sign. And then Gary Byers is going to turn off your microphone as well. If you keep going, we will send a small little shock to your seat, and that will let you know that you've gone too long. If any of our candidates get out of line, and I know that they won't tonight, but I will have to step in and cut you off, but I know that you're all going to be respectful as always here tonight. And we will also have 60 seconds as well for everyone to make closing statements when we get to the end of the evening. Of course, this meeting is scheduled to go until 9 o'clock tonight. So again, we want to get in as many questions as possible. Some other things to note here tonight as well. Rogers TV, of course, is broadcasting the event, so a big thank you to Mark Perry, Daryl Van Slack, and the volunteers who make this possible. If you're not able, or if you know someone that isn't able to tune in tonight, this will be repeated many times, and it's going to be up on YouTube as well tomorrow, so that you can get information from all the candidates and help you with your decision for Election Day on Monday. And then, of course, I just want to ask our audience to be respectful here tonight. You're the audience. You're here to listen. Please do not interrupt the candidates or shout at any questions at them. You have the opportunity to write in questions here tonight. If there is any interruptions, we will stop the meeting, and we will have security on site that will remove you. I don't think it's going to come to that tonight, but just please be respectful of our candidates. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you again to the Owen Sound Chamber of Commerce. We have done a draw for our opening remarks. So the order is going to begin with Anne-Marie Watson, who represents the Liberal Party of Canada. So Anne-Marie, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you, JC, and the Owen Sound Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. As you heard, I'm Anne-Marie Watson, and I'm the Liberal candidate for Bruce-Grey-Owen Sound. I have almost 30 years of experience working in the not-for-profit sector and living on our family farm in West Grey. I recently retired from my position as the Executive Director of the Durham Hospital Foundation after 10 years of raising funds and recruiting doctors. I am committed to protecting this riding from the fallout of a U.S.-triggered trade war. Small business and farms are often the hardest hit and will need help to thrive in a new economy. As a retired healthcare nonprofit professional, I bring a unique perspective to accessible healthcare to rural residents. Rural hospitals and emergency rooms are closing and many people don't have a doctor. There are too many roadblocks to bringing in new doctors, even Canadians who were educated abroad. A Carney-led government will eliminate the barriers, increase medical school spaces, cut the red tape to getting a doctor certified in Canada, and get people the health care that they need. We need more affordable housing, and I will ensure some of the promised 500,000 new homes per year promised by the Carney government do come to Bruce Grey. These houses will provide homes, create jobs, stimulate the economy, and attract young people to the skilled trades. I'm committed to supporting families' access to programs like the child tax credit, dental care, and pharmacare. Over 60% of Bruce Grey families bring home less than $90,000 per year, making them eligible for these benefits. These initiatives provide valuable financial and health benefits for rural families. My campaign also focuses on agriculture. I will work to ensure that Bruce Grey succeeds in an open Canadian economy. Too often, farmers are asked to carry the burden of ensuring clean air, water, and soil, to provide recreational trails, reduce herbicide levels with no compensation or consideration. I want to build a future where rural voices are heard and respected in Ottawa. I want to give you the voice and representation that you deserve.
All right, thank you very much, Anne-Marie Watson. The next drawn to deliver their opening statement is Christopher Neudorf, who represents the New Democratic Party of Canada. Go ahead, Christopher.
Hello, everyone. Oh, am I on? There, now I'm on. Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Neudorf. I am a secondary history and civics teacher at John Diefenbaker Senior School. It's been an interesting civics class so far this year. Folks, why I'm here is because I want to build something. There's a saying I'm very fond of, that you take a seed and you plant the tree, not because you expect to sit under its shade, but because you're planting it for someone else to. And that's what I want to do. We are in a crisis right now. It's true. We are in a trade crisis that's unprecedented. But from crisis, we have opportunity. I want to invest in building a fairer Canada for all. That means building 3 million homes by 2030, making sure 20% of those homes are being built at non-market to cool the housing crisis. I want to invest in rebuilding Canadian infrastructure with good unionized jobs. I want to build again, and we've done it before. In the 1940s, we rebuilt Canada with the biggest housing initiative in history following World War II. In the 1960s, my party was instrumental in bringing universal health care to all Canadians. And in 2023, my party forced the Liberals to bring the health benefits that my fellow candidate mentioned to individuals making less than $90,000 a year. I want to go to Ottawa to keep fighting for us. I want to go to Ottawa because I believe that we can do better for the average Canadian. I want to build something new. I want to build a Canada for Canadians. That takes you and me. It takes hard work, but we can do it, folks. So if you want to build a better Canada for workers, by workers, then vote for me, Christopher Neudorf. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Next for their opening remarks is Alex Ruff, who represents the Conservative Party of Canada.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks to the Chamber for hosting tonight. I think most of you know who I am, but in case you don't, I grew up on the farm in Tara, oldest of 5 boys. I lived back on that family farm. Grew up going to school in Tara and then Chesley to high school, off to the Royal Military College, joined the military right out of high school, 25 years in the Canadian Armed Forces, retired as a colonel in 2019 with operational deployments in Eastern Ontario and Quebec during the ice storm, 2 operational deployments in Bosnia, 2 in Afghanistan, and 1 in Iraq. Since 2019 and coming home, I've had the privilege of actually being your member of parliament in Ottawa, being your voice, and it's been a true privilege to do that. I'm likely one of the least partisan voices in the House of Commons. I really concentrate on getting results done. I've had the pleasure for the last 2.5 years to specifically sit on the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, a group where we work on the classified information. We're not in public, so it avoids a lot of the baloney that sometimes goes on in the House of Commons. But at the same time, we produce reports like the Foreign Interference Report that called out the Liberal government for lack of action on dealing with foreign interference. And I remind everybody, everything's unanimous. 4 Liberals, 2 Conservatives, an NDP, a Bloc member, and 3 Trudeau-appointed senators wrote that report. And it's unanimous on what we decided needed to be done and our recommendations to the government. As well, I've helped get former Afghan women MPs here to Canada and to safety, just something again by an all-party group. My priorities for this area and for Canada haven't changed. I'm standing up for rural Canada, including agriculture, economy, get our deficit under control, our seniors, our military, and our veterans. A new Conservative government will rebuild this country with a common sense plan to axe taxes, build homes, stop crimes, and fix our budget. Looking forward to sharing more of that during the debate tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Next opening remarks will come from Pavel Smoko, who represents the People's Party of Canada.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Pavel. Sorry. My name is Pavel Smolko. I was born in communist country, Czechoslovakia, former communist country, and I have very good experience from communist regime. So when pandemic came and this 10 years through the government make us like communist country, so I decided to run for People's Party of Canada because taxes were high, our healthcare is disaster. We have too long time to wait for our doctor. And even after 25 years in Canada, I still don't have a family doctor. So this is a big problem. And I was very upset when Trudeau sent Canada to World Economic Forum dictatorship. So we are independent country, and I think that Canada has to be first for Canadians, and don't sell in money to overseas and somewhere else. We have to spend money, Canadian money, for Canada, for Canadian. And when Maxime Bernier became in jail, so I was surprised that Emergency Act actually made us like Nazi Germany in almost 90 years ago. So I decided that I have to fight for freedom, for respect to Canadian people, respect to free speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Next opening remarks will come from Natasha Akawenzi, who represents the Green Party of Canada.
My name is Natasha Akawenzi. I'm from Lac-Sur First Nation, living at Neoshiniming with my family and 16 goats and 30 chickens and 3 dogs and a cat. So, how did I get here? Well, I am a manager of Bogwood Alliance, which means they set a net in Anishinaabe-Moan. And we're an environmental group that we care passionately about the environment, training youth, helping people reconnect to the environment, to each other, to teach culture, to learn from each other, to inspire other people, to share stories and memories, and just to really connect to the community. I'm also an ED of a land trust called Gidakinon, which means our land. And we're just in the beginning stages of it, but it's exciting times because I'm hoping to be able to protect a lot of land because it's a federal land trust. And I'm hoping to be able to protect land all the way across Canada. So that's what's brought me here, is the passion for land, for community, for youth, for culture, for inspiration, to give people hope, to be able to inspire. I love it that a friend of mine brought a tree to join us, and so I'm never that far away from home. And I have Nibi right in front of me, I have the forest right beside me, and I have friends out in front of me. So I'm very, very blessed, and I'm very thankful for being here. So thank you for hosting this event, and thank you for coming out tonight. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. And our final opening statement is from Ann Gillies, who represents the United Party of Canada.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here, and thank you to the Chamber and all of you for coming. I'm a lifelong resident of Grey Bruce and grew up in Meaford, Ontario, to a fishing family. And then my dad actually was a wheelsman on the Great Lake Freighters, and then finally on the Chi-Chi-Mun. I'm the proud mother of 6 children. I now live in Dundalk, Ontario. and I'm a grandmother to 12, so we have quite a busy family. I've lived through good times, as most of you have, and some pretty difficult times. But you know, we struggle together and we come together in community. I've spent my professional life working in mental health as a marriage and family therapist, but specifically treating adult survivors of complex sexual abuse, and so complex trauma and sexual abuse. So helping those individuals navigate some very difficult struggles in their life. I have an unwavering belief that every person has inherent value, the right to live in freedom, prosperity, and security based on the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Grey-Bruce-Owen Sound is home to hardworking families, farmers, small business owners, and tight-knit communities rooted in faith and tradition. But you know, we're seeing our values that we hold dear erode. And so we're seeing our whole society across Canada collapsing. Our riding needs real representation, someone who puts people before politics. We're a value-driven movement, and we want to ensure Canadian sovereignty by securing our borders and empowering the economy. We're here to reforge our nation, Canada, for Canadians, for you, sovereign, all the way through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne. So we're going to move on to the prepared questions. These are questions that will be asked by myself. We have 6 questions and 6 candidates, so we'll keep it pretty simple. We'll start on the very end with the first question with Pavel. Everyone will have an opportunity to answer a question first once. So Pavel will get the first question first, then Natasha will get the second question first, and so on down the table. We'll answer in order from the person that answers first. If you do feel that you need a rebuttal, just raise your hand so that I know, and you'll have 60 seconds for any rebuttals. Otherwise, you'll have 90 seconds for each question. If we are running short on time, I may reduce it down to 60 seconds, but assume right now it's 90 seconds for each question. And if you need a question repeated, please let me know, and I'll be happy to do that. I do notice that we've had a few more audience members come in a little bit since we started. So again, audience questions will be coming in the second hour of this all candidates meeting. So if you do have a question and you'd like to write it down, just put your hand up in the air, and one of our volunteers from the Chamber of Commerce will come over with a pen and a card, and you can write your question down for the second hour. So, with that said, we'll start with the first question. Pavel will answer this one first, and then we'll go down the table. The question is, Grey-Bruce continues to experience significant workforce shortages in key sectors like healthcare, agriculture, and skilled trades. What concrete steps will you take to attract and retain workers in our rural communities, especially in the face of aging demographics and housing shortages? Pavel, from the People's Party of Canada, you are up first, sir.
Thank you for this question. First, I can say that I was working in Magna Company, where we have Frank Stronach chairman, and he decided to give us like workers who are working hard profit sharing. Now he decided to apply a world economic economic charter for Canada. Canada is in economic collapse almost, so he decided to apply for investors, for managers, and for workers, for everybody, right for profit sharing. So when we come to Grey-Bruce-Owen Sound, I like to support young people, young families, hardworking people who decided to start small businesses and make their family profit for their better lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. We will move next to Natasha from the Green Party.
Yes, so I understand that there's a job shortage, housing shortage, a lot of challenges being faced in this riding. And and I know this because I talk to youth. I work with youth every single day. I just bumped into a youth on the street the other day, and that I've worked with, and he's like, I'm looking for work, and I totally understand that, the challenges that are being faced with that. So bringing new trades into schools, bringing new opportunities into schools, opening, I know my boys went to a smaller high school, and there was not a lot of options in shop or in skilled trades. So I think by opening those doors and giving them those opportunities, getting youth outside to teach them about green jobs, as in forestry and guiding and a lot of the tourism stuff, but also giving them skilled trades to be able to build houses and build a future, and then to inspire them to start their own jobs and to find mentors to help guide them in that direction. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. Next to respond is Alex from the Conservative Party.
Thanks. Since first being elected in 2019, the labor shortage is something I've been hearing consistently from small businesses and from our farmers across the community, including healthcare sectors as well. So almost 3 years ago, Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives proposed the Blue Seal program to fast-track foreign credential recognition for doctors, nurses, and skilled tradespeople. We'll continue to work with the provinces to create nationally recognized licenses for these doctor, nurses, early childhood educators, and other professions. As well, Conservative government will be providing those new Canadians with small loans to complete additional education or training to achieve the Canadian equivalency. We also expand residency spots for Canadian medical students studying abroad so that students can work in our healthcare system. And we'll also rapidly recognize U.S. board-certified professionals to bring more qualified physicians to Canada. This is part of a larger plan to add 15,000 doctors by 2030. As well, a Conservative government will reinstate the $4,000 apprenticeship grants that the Liberals are discontinuing and streamlining the EI for apprenticeships. This will also fund training halls that will skill up to 350,000 young workers over 5 years. And as well, we recognize the importance of the temporary and seasonal ag programs here. This is something that we need to work for, especially in our orchards in this area. And finally, I'll continue to support it through this Canada Summer Jobs program, where agriculture and small businesses are 2 of my 5 priorities. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Next up is Anne Marie from the Liberal Party.
Thank you. To build the fastest growing economy in the G7, we need to have a skilled workforce. A Mark Carney-led government will provide a new apprenticeship grant of up to $8,000, increase access to union-led training initiatives, doubling the funding of the Union Training and Innovation Program from $25 million to $50 million, establish a new $20 million capital funding stream for colleges to support new training spaces, increase labor mobility for skilled tradespeople between provinces and territories. A Mark Carney-led government will launch a new training and upskilling benefit worth up to $15,000 for workers in the middle of their careers. The benefit will target workers in priority sectors, including manufacturing, healthcare, construction, AI, and technology. It will ensure that Canadian workers impacted by tariffs have the necessary tools to pursue good-paying jobs and advance their careers in priority sectors. Future-proof the workforce by ensuring that federally funded training programs align with labor market needs today and tomorrow. A Mark Carney-led government will add thousands of new doctors to Canada's healthcare system, increase medical school and residency spaces, and build new medical schools. Make it easier for internationally trained doctors and health professionals to practice here in Canada. Build hospitals and clinics, provide personal support worker PSWs up to $1,000 or $1,100 a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Next to respond is Christopher from the NDP.
So, folks, it's no secret that we are really struggling to retain young people in our community. I want to address agriculture first. I think this is one of the ones where we can make a lot of good with positive investment. Despite the fact that we have a substantial number of young people in this community that are set to inherit their families' farmland, a lot of them actually can't do so, in large part because the land transfer tax is so high. The NDP, I would caucus for and would support reducing the land transfer tax for lower income farms and for smaller farms and for farming subsidies. Speaking of which, or farming co-ops, my apology. Speaking of which, I'm off my game today. Farming co-ops are a major part of our agriculture as well, and I think we can subsidize those further using the Canadian Agricultural Labor Act, Loan Act. Wow, I'm off today. The Canadian Agricultural Loan Act. I'm better than this usually. So I want to increase that from 95% repayment to 100% repayment so we can help local farmers to bring in green approaches to farming. We need a permanent pathway to citizenship for agricultural seasonal workers and for doctors. We also want to bring a $5,000 credit to nurses to encourage people to enter into that industry. We want to expand federal transfers for SHISM. And I think the real trick to bringing it back is to bringing the rail back. The CPR pulled out of our community in the 1980s. I want to nationalize the CN rail, expand it, and bring it back.
Thank you, Christopher. And next to respond is Anne from the United Party.
Thank you. We need targeted solutions, not one size fits all. We're proposing a comprehensive rural workforce incentive package, which includes tax breaks, relocation grants, student loan forgiveness for healthcare professionals, tradespeople, and educators who commit to working in rural communities like ours for at least 5 years. We're also going to invest in regional training hubs, partnerships between local high schools, colleges, and employers, offering micro-credential programs and hands-on apprenticeships. The trades training should be geared toward our unique needs in our local community. It's not just about jobs, it's about making life viable here and attractive. That's why we are going to fast-track rural housing developments through public-private partnerships with funding affordable for rental and starter homes. We will provide basic infrastructure to support modern work and education and offer family-based tax credits that benefit and reward families who choose to raise their children in rural Canada. We believe in creating strong, stable communities from the ground up, right here in Grey and Bruce.
Thank you, Anne. Our next question is about homelessness. Homelessness is no longer just an urban issue. We're seeing rising numbers of unhoused individuals here in Grey Bruce. What is your plan to address rural homelessness, including support for transitional housing and mental health services in our region? We'll start with Natasha.
So yes, housing is absolutely important, of course, for everybody. It's a necessary means. I know so many houses that are over, like just too many people in one house. They're bulging at the seams. When we even hire youth, they have to sleep in my office and my studio because there's no places to rent. There's no places to stay close by. They don't have transportation to work. So the only other option is they pitch a tent in my backyard or they sleep in my studio and my office. So housing is so important, and there's a lot of people that don't have a roof over their head. They don't have that security. They don't have those warm walls, and they don't have a comfortable bed that they can call their own. They also don't have that security, that there's 4 walls and a door that they can sleep under. So yes, it's absolutely important, and we need to bring this to the forefront. It's absolutely sad, and I think as a community we can do it. We can fix this problem. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. Next to respond will be Alex from the Conservative Party.
Thanks. First off, I just want to recognize many of the local and other levels nonprofits that work in this field across our riding. There's a lot of people doing a lot of good work to help those in need right across Bruce-Grey-Owen Owen Sound. So a conservative government will make CMHC funding more accessible specifically for those organizations and level of government that are focused on transitional and supportive housing. We'll do this by returning to a housing-first approach to eliminating homelessness so that individuals experiencing homelessness can have a stable place to live. We will support a broad-based tax relief and tax incentives to make home ownership and rental accommodations more attainable and accessible. We believe that all governments at all levels should address homelessness by assisting in the provision of shelters and by recognizing and addressing and seeking solutions to contributing factors of homelessness. The federal government should partner or will partner, if it's conservative, with and link the respective jurisdictions of provincial, territorial, and municipal governments, business initiatives, and the work of social agencies and not-for-profit organizations in dealing with the housing for the homeless. As well, mental health and addictions is one of the key things that is obviously contributing to this. Mr. Polyev is committing to funding 50,000 treatment and recovery positions across Canada, which will then help those individuals get back on their feet, find stable jobs, and find a home to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Next to respond, Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party.
Thank you. There's a mental health and addictions crisis hurting our communities. It's a crisis that demands real solutions, not just slogans. A Mark Carney-led government will provide 100,000 young people a year with mental health care by establishing a permanent youth mental health fund. This fund will enhance community-based mental health services and give access to mental health care to people who otherwise would not get it, improving the lives of young people and the friends and families who love them. The government will provide urgent and immediate support to address the overdose crisis by adding $500 million to the Emergency Treatment Fund to support municipalities, Indigenous peoples, and community healthcare organizations to confront the toxic drug and overdose crisis and connect more people to treatment and vital services faster. We will invest in deeply affordable housing, supportive housing, and shelters in recognition of the link between housing and mental health outcomes. We will do this through a $6 billion invested in the Now Build Canada homes, which will build and acquire housing. This investment builds on the Rapid Housing Initiative, which supported 15,000 homes for our most vulnerable. We will continue to work with partners to deliver projects that recognizes the link between housing and health outcomes. We will continue to fund the 988 Suicide Crisis Helpline, which responded to over 300,000 calls and texts in its first year.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Next up is Christopher from the NDP.
Look, folks, it's not just young people that are struggling with mental health, and it's not just 100,000. That's why the NDP supports an expanded mental health insurance program, giving mental health insurance support to all Canadians whose current insurance programs do not cover it. We've got to go a lot farther than just helping 100,000. That's good, but we can do a lot better. Beyond that, folks, tax credits for rent, that helps, but rent control is better. Protection from rent evictions and demo evictions is better. Folks, rent is out of control, and I completely agree that rent is tied to mental health. So we need to make, as a part of an expanded federal transfer for development of rental housing, we need to make a condition that those houses have rent control. In addition, we also need to make supporting housing initiative a part of that expansion. But folks, we can go further. I would also suggest that part of the recovery process is the dignity of work. And therefore, I would caucus for a tax credit and for wage supports for individuals being hired by small businesses who are recovering addicts or are recovering from a position of being unhoused. We have to give these folks more than a handout. We have to give them the dignity to have jobs. We can do that with financial support, working with small businesses in our community. That's how we fix this, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. And next we'll go to Anne from the United Party.
Thank you. Homelessness is a national crisis, and we need to treat it as such, national crisis. It's about trauma, deep unresolved trauma that often leads to addiction. If we don't address the root causes, the crisis grows. But we need to shut down the drug labs. That's one of the roots. The United Party of Canada will embed trauma-informed recovery directly into the housing dilemma. This means access to counseling, addiction programs, faith-based, and peer-led support, all built into a complete recovery model. We'll work closely with churches, nonprofits, and the Indigenous leaders to create community-driven support systems that last. We're not talking about shelters that just pack people in. We're talking about homes, dignity-based, cost-effective, modular, that restore privacy and purpose. Just recently, there was a group of 12 Amish people in Northern Carolina that built, there was a large group that built 12 homes in 48 hours. Why can't we do that? Why does the government even need to be involved, quite honestly, in some of this? That's the kind of innovative grassroots housing solution. We just need to support the people that are willing to do it. We'll also reintroduce skills training. We believe that each person has the chance to rebuild their lives. We want to give them that chance. Homelessness is personal. It's a crisis of the heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And we'll go down to the end of the table. Pavel from the People's Party.
Yes, thank you. We had back home. We had one politician after communists lost everything, and he said a very famous sentence that, "What I promise you, nobody can do it." And this is what I think that Liberal Party make it a little bit tricky for us, that 10 years disaster, suddenly they change, like the Titanic is going to iceberg. How you can change captain and everything will be okay? So we forgot about Justin Trudeau government, and we talk only about Mark Carney. But Mark Carney was appointed without election. So I think that we have to take very seriously this, and we need change in this country. And I think that housing can be solved. We have Habitat for Humanity. Hardworking people can build their houses with support of Habitat for Humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Our next question stays on the topic of housing. We've seen a growing number of people in our community struggling with housing insecurity. What concrete steps will you take to support affordable housing initiatives and services for the unhoused in Grey Bruce? And we'll start with Alex Ruff from the Conservative Party.
Thanks. So it's unfortunate that after 10 years of Liberal government, housing prices have doubled, rent has doubled. Conservative government will accelerate housing by cutting red tape and eliminating the gatekeepers to build 2.3 million new homes for Canadians over the next 5 years. Conservative government will axe the sales tax on new homes up to $1.3 million, will axe the GST on new rental housing construction to build thousands of affordable rental units, and will incentivize municipalities to cut building taxes by reimbursing municipalities with 50% of every dollar spent up to $50,000 in savings for new home buyers. As well, the Conservative government will work with municipalities to pre-zone that land so builders can break ground immediately and prioritize home builders who build affordable homes. As well, we require municipalities to publish their approval timelines and development charges so Canadians can see how their municipality is performing compared to others. As well, Conservative government will simplify and unlock federal funding programs for Indigenous housing and community development, supporting Indigenous designed housing programs that meet local needs and respect traditional cultural materials and design. The Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation will be required to approve housing applications in 60 days or less, will simplify and harmonize the National Building Code, and will scrap the underused housing tax and eliminate the Liberals' new tax on home renovations, and will restore those apprenticeship grants that I talked about earlier so we have skilled workers to build the houses right across Canada and here in Bruce-Grey-Owen Sound.
Thank you, Alex. Next to respond, Anne-Marie, Liberal Party.
Housing insecurity can mean many things, from having no home to worrying if you can pay rent. People are concerned about their children not being able to buy homes. Well, I understand that. I have 2 adult children who worry if they will ever be able to buy a home. Well, I'd like to see that happen for them. A Mark Carney-led government will create Build Canada Homes to get the federal government back into the business of building homes. Through the agency, Canada will act as a developer to build affordable housing at scale, including in public lands. It'll build faster, smarter, sustainable, and more affordable homes. Support affordable home builders by injecting $10 billion in low-cost financing and capital. It'll prioritize sustainable building. It'll incentivize companies to hire apprentices and recent graduates. It'll cut municipal development charges in half for multi-unit residential housing for 5 years. Reintroduce a tax incentive for home builders known as the multi-use rental building. Facilitate the conversion of existing structures into affordable housing units. to build on the success of the Housing Accelerator Fund. And as I said before, we will invest in deeply affordable housing, supportive housing, and shelters in recognition of the link between housing and mental health outcomes.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Next is Christopher from the NDP.
At the beginning of his comments, my fellow candidate, Alex, stated that the housing prices have doubled under the Liberals, and he's absolutely correct. It also doubled under the Conservatives, under Harper as well. And this isn't particularly surprising. Thank you. Considering that Housing Minister Pierre Poilievre sold 800,000 government-owned houses that could have been affordable for rent to private interest, which then jacked up the rent cost. Folks, I'm going to be blunt. I don't trust an arsonist to put out the fire they started. The Liberals and Conservatives caused this housing crisis by getting government out of housing. Let's get it back in. Let me give you some numbers. $16 billion to build 3 million homes, to get 20% of all houses in all communities, including our own, as non-market houses. We need an affordable option to drive down a housing market that is out of control. We also need to tie rent controls to an expanded federal transfer for housing development, because it's not just buying homes, it's also putting a roof over your head through renting. So, as I wrap up, I also want to mention that we are going to do this by investing in us. We're going to hire young workers. We're going to expand construction. We're going to expand infrastructure, put money in people's pockets with good paying jobs, and in the process, build the houses to cool the housing market. We can build better and we can be stronger if we invest in us. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Alex, you were specifically mentioned there. Did you want an opportunity for a rebuttal?
I'm okay.
No, okay, just checking. If anybody or their party does get mentioned, I'll ask if you do want an opportunity. Again, if you do feel the need for a rebuttal, just put up your hand after the statement and I will come to you next. And going next now to Anne from the United Party.
Thank you. This is truly a community well-being issue that impacts our future. The United Party of Canada is committed to truly solving the housing crisis. First, we will fast-track zoning reform and provide federal funds to municipalities that prioritize affordable housing development. We also believe in the power of modular and prefabricated homes that can go up quickly. We will provide incentives to developers who commit to rents and keeping mortgage payments capped at 30% of household income. Additionally, we will unlock underused federal and provincial land in Grey Bruce and transfer it to nonprofits, co-ops, and Indigenous organizations to help develop long-term, permanently affordable housing. We will fund age-friendly and accessible housing, as well as intergenerational housing models that I've talked about before, that allow families to live together with dignity and care. For the working class renters, we want to introduce housing benefit top-ups to ensure they can afford to live where they work. The United Party of Canada is dedicated to creating stable, affordable housing solutions to support families, seniors, and workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Next to respond is Pavel from the People's Party.
Thank you. And this is what I think that we have to build stronger and support economic for real people, hardworking people. And what is problem in Canada? We have too much bureaucracy. We need a lower government, make it affordable for paying taxes, because we pay so much money for people who work for government. And we have problem with this 10 years devastating Canada, and I am very upset that our liberal government is infiltrated with so many people from World Economic Forum. Now, after Trump said, oh, we have tariffs for Canada, suddenly politicians say, oh, Canada is first. So I want to see Canada first, making Canada independent, sovereign country. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. And finally, we'll go to Natasha from the Green Party.
So I think we need to start with getting youth and students and excited to be in the trades. Because I know to be able to build a house, because I built my own house, I built my own barn with my husband, and we're still together, which is amazing, because I swear trying to hang up drywall with your husband is not recommended at all. So this is what I have learned. You can do it, and you can do it as a community. You can find these solutions, but you need the skills to be able to do it. So I think we need to really look at how to get these skilled people excited about trades from a very young age, all the way up and through. My husband had to teach me how to learn how to use a drill. That was not pleasant for him or for me. But we got the house up. It's still standing after 30 years, so I think we did a good job. But yeah, we need skilled trades. We need to come together as a community because, again, I would not have been able to lift the walls without help from the community. So together, the community was able to build a house, we built a barn, we got the animals, everything came together. And I think that is a lesson that we can replicate time and time and time again. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. Our next question. Local manufacturers, farmers, and small businesses in Grey Bruce are struggling with the cost impacts of tariffs on everything from steel to agricultural goods. What will you do to advocate for tariff relief or supports that help our local economy stay competitive? And this time we'll start with Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party.
Thank you. Our workers and business are under threat from America's unjustified trade war. It is an attempt to weaken our economy in a misguided belief that they can dominate the Canadian economy. Well, we will reject any attempt to weaken us, wear us down, divide us, or own us. Our response will always be to fight, to protect our workers and industries, and to build. A Mark Carney-led government will respond to existing U.S. tariffs on our economy for as long as necessary. We will create a $2 billion strategic response fund to boost our auto sector's competitiveness, protect manufacturing jobs, support workers to upskill their expertise in the industry, and build a fortified Canadian supply chain from raw materials to finished vehicles. We will build an all-in-Canada network for automotive manufacturing component parts. Within this network, we will work with industry to build more car parts in Canada, limit those parts from crossing the border during production, and attract investment into our own industry. We will maximize Canada's steel, aluminum, and critical minerals from exploration to battery production, safeguard our economy and our values, protect Canada from attempts to buy up our businesses, protect our core public health care, intellectual property, critical minerals, and other resources by strengthening the Investment Canada Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Next is Christopher from the NDP.
Folks, I want to start with the big businesses, and then I want to get down to the specifics, because a lot of us here are small business owners. A lot of us here are working with local businesses. I want to address that aspect. But we talk about the big biz, talk about the auto sector. We know what the purpose of these tariffs are. They're to drag the auto sector and other industrial sectors into the United States. My party is committed to fighting against any corporation, any automobile manufacturer that has taken subsidies from our government and then intends to leave. If we paid for the machinery, it's staying here. And if they want to leave it to us to run ourselves, all the better. But let's talk about local businesses. Folks, during the COVID pandemic, the NDP made it a priority to protect small businesses, and we fought with the Liberals to make it happen. And there's a number of things we did that I believe we can implement today in the growing tariff crisis. First off, we need to put a hard cap on credit card charges for small businesses. Small businesses are getting killed by totally predatory taxes on, well, not taxes, but fees on credit cards, and we can put a limit on that. We also need to start investing back in our community. We need to start building jobs so people here can afford to go to local businesses. How do we do that? We invest in making ourselves self-sustaining. We build abattoirs. We build more roads. We build the capacity for us to make the best of our agricultural goods here and use that money we're paying folks to build that to buy here. We can support ourselves by making ourselves stronger, but it takes direct investment. That's what we're going to do.
Thank you, Christopher. Next is Anne from the United Party.
Thank you. Well, we believe that The heart of this tariff issue with the U.S. is a flawed approach to trade with retaliatory tariffs. When Canada imposes retaliatory tariffs, it drives up the price of essential foods for the rest of us, farm equipment as well, feed, fertilizer, even basic consumer products. And that hits families, raising the cost of living and reducing consumer choice. The United Party of Canada is committed to delivering real immediate relief. We'll reduce tariffs on essential agriculture manufacturing inputs. For manufacturers, lowering import costs for machinery and raw material means more competitive pricing, better wages, and local job security. We'll also support regional supply chains and cooperative business models to reduce reliance on unstable international markets. The United Party of Canada will work hand in hand with local chambers of commerce and industry leaders to develop region-specific strategies that grow our economy. In short, we believe in backing the people who built our communities, cut costs, improve supply stability, and encourage innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And we'll go to Pavel from the People's Party.
Thank you. Tariffs paid by American people in America are a little bit harder to compare to our taxes, but I prefer, in People's Party of Canada, we prefer that we have to eliminate barriers between interprovincial barriers in businesses, because we still have struggle between provinces, and we have to keep our products for Canadians. I decided to buy local a long time ago, and I have to support farmers in our area, all businesses what we have around. If I want to buy something, I buy local, and if I cannot find something made in Canada, I buy American. But most of products what I see in Canada is from China. So this is problem, and what is the main reason why we are fighting for eliminating interprovincial barriers. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Natasha from the Green Party.
So I think communication is really key here. So I think we need to communicate within the community, within the province, within Canada, to be able to talk about what we have, the strengths, and how we can start sharing things. Once upon a time, there was no lines. My ancestors, once upon a time, were able to trade quite freely. Yes, there was a lot of negotiation, a lot of trading back and forth, but we were able to do it. So I think by talking about what we have, our strengths, like we have maple syrup here. I tried to get maple syrup in Thunder Bay. It was very difficult. To get 2 ounces of maple syrup in Thunder Bay was at least $3 for 2 ounces. But I think we have plenty of it down here that we could talk about trading. So there's a lot of things that we can do if we are able to have conversations and be able to share our resources and be able to share our strengths and our skills with each other. And again, we have to come to the table and talk about it, and we also have to build new relationships with other people that we may have never considered wanting to talk to or be able to involve in our circles. It's really important to have open communication. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. And we'll go to Alex from the Conservative Party.
Thanks. The first point of clarification, we're actually not dealing with those tariffs right now. There is a pause, except on a few key industries, right? Steel and aluminum, softwood lumber, which actually have been tariffs that Mr. Trump brought in. His first mandate that they, unfortunately, after 10 years, the Liberal government still hasn't resolved, although in the previous time the U.S. did this in Canada, the Harper government had it resolved, I believe, in 60 days. As well, there's still tariffs on our auto sector. What do we need to do, though, to strengthen ourselves and put our economy in a better position? Well, we already heard locally here, we need to increase our processing capacity, especially for our meat, for our beef, our pork, and our farmers here. We need to knock down those interprovincial trade barriers. We need to make ourselves strong here at home first. As well, though, should those tariffs come into place, we do need to impose reciprocal tariffs immediately. If that happens, a Conservative government will launch a Keep Canadians Working Fund, a targeted temporary loan program for businesses directly hit, helping those workers keep their jobs. We'll accelerate the renegotiation of the CUSMA agreement. We need to make ourselves less reliant on the U.S. by expanding into new global markets. The Conservative government will pass a Farmland Protection Act to stop foreign governments and corporations from buying up Canadian farmland. And we're going to basically unleash our industry, cut taxes on our workers, zero capital gains taxes on Canadian reinvestment, all the while protecting Canada, our sovereignty, and who we are here in Canada. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Our next question for our candidates. With inflation continuing to impact everyday essentials like groceries and fuel, many families in Grey Bruce are struggling to keep up with the rising cost of living. What specific actions will you and your party take to address inflation and provide meaningful relief to residents in our region? Christopher from the NDP, you get to start.
Folks, I anticipate that you'll be hearing a lot about tax cuts in this answer. Mr. Ruff will probably talk about the $900 tax cut that the Conservatives are pushing, and Anne Marie will probably talk about the $850. I want to talk about the $1,400 tax cut that the NDP is pushing for. And there's a reason why we can do that and my opponents can't make the same offer. Because the tax programs under their parties will actually give folks like Galen Weston a bigger tax cut than you and I. But our tax cuts aren't doing that. Our tax cuts stop at the wealthy. If you're making more than $1.4 million a year, I urge you to not vote for me because I'm not giving you a tax cut. But if you're making less than $1 million a year, I would urge you to vote for me because I am giving you a bigger tax cut. Beyond that, folks, we also have to address GST. We're going to take GST off of essential items like heating, internet, phone, groceries, sundries, automobiles. We are also going to put in grocery price controls. We know that grocery prices have risen beyond a reasonable degree. France is doing this right now, and it's working quite well. We can do it here. Folks, we've also forced the Liberals to expand dental care and pharmacare. This is going to be essential if times are going to get harder and inflation is going to go up. The Liberals have not promised to protect these programs from creeping privatization. In fact, Carney refused to make that promise. We do promise to continue to expand pharmacare, expand dental care, and to protect these vital programs when Canadians need them most. And folks, we're going to invest in the New Deal, and that's going to bring new jobs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christopher. We'll go to Anne from the United Party.
I just thought I'd ask you to raise your hand if you make over $1 million a year in Grey Bruce County.
Exactly.
This is a cost of living crisis, and it's hitting rural communities hardest. The United Party of Canada is focused on real, immediate solutions that will put more money back in the pockets of families. First, we will eliminate the federal carbon tax. It is disproportionately impacting rural communities. It's a policy that we want to change to provide immediate relief. We will suspend GST on essential items such as groceries, gas, baby supplies, and hygiene products. And we will increase child tax benefit and old age security. Let me say that again. We will increase the Canadian child benefit and old age security to better reflect the cost of living. We'll also introduce family-based tax model, ensuring that families with children receive higher deductions and credits. And finally, we will invest in local food systems, which we desperately need, supporting farmers, small processors, and community markets. The United Party believes in putting families first, protecting your purchasing power, and rebuilding an economy that works for all of us.
Thank you, Anne. We'll go down to the end of the table to Pavel from the People's Party.
Inflation is on the rise, and I don't believe that we will have lower prices, but still we have to save money for hardworking Canadians and for families. So, thank you for this United Party that we are decided to increase support for child care benefit and for families with more children to make their lives a little bit easier in this inflation time. And what we are expecting that we propose zero inflation rate for Bank of Canada. And of course, we want to eliminate carbon tax. And I was surprised when I paid from carbon tax, I paid HST tax. So it's like tax from tax. I couldn't believe I was complaining, and they said, no, thank you for your government. So thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Next is Natasha from the Green Party.
So I understand that the groceries and a lot of other things are getting really expensive. I can remember once upon a time, and I feel like I'm sounding like my grandparents, when I talk about going in with 2 bags of groceries and having to only drop $100. It now costs quite a bit more than that. It's almost $100 a bag, and it's making it really hard to feed a family. It's making it really hard to feed a community, and I can understand that. So I think we need to look at where the money is being spent, and possibly oil and gas subsidies don't need to be exactly spent on there. I think it could also be reallocated, or some of it could be reallocated to some of the other things that we need, like healthcare, like bringing down some of the costs that we have, some of the housing issues that we're having, and sharing that wealth amongst the people that we actually need it. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. Next is Alex from the Conservative Party.
So a Conservative government will cut the lowest personal income tax by 15%, moving that bracket from 15% down to 12.75, which, as Chris already highlighted, will save the average Canadian $900 or a dual income family $1,800 a year. We will repeal the industrial carbon tax that Mr. Carney and the Liberals want to raise, because we all know that those taxes get passed on down to the consumer every time we purchase an item made with steel or aluminum. Conservatives will raise the tax-free income threshold for working seniors up to $34,000 for those that still want and are still capable of working, allowing those working seniors to earn up to $10,000 more than they currently do. We'll protect our auto workers' jobs and save Canadians money. We'll axe the new sales tax on new Canadian cars. We'll help seniors with the option of growing their savings longer in their RSPs until age 73 until 71. We'll protect old age, GIS, and CPP by keeping the retirement age at 65. And as well, we're going to have their Canadian First Economic Action Plan that will make life more affordable by boosting Canada's economic activity by $500 billion over the next 5 years with new infrastructure and resource projects right across Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And finally, Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party.
Inflation definitely is a serious issue, but keep in mind, in March 2025, Canada's annual inflation rate was 2.3%, down from 2.6% the previous month. Well, to keep it going down, a Mark Carney-led government will eliminate the GST for first-time home buyers on houses costing $1 million or less. It will protect and strengthen the $10 a day childcare system and create 100,000 new spaces by 2031. It will ensure that childcare providers have good wages, critical to keeping childcare centers well staffed. It'll link childcare with housing development on sites that receive federal financing, make the National School Food Program permanent, continue to advance the National Caregiving Strategy. We will move forward to better support those caring for loved ones. For seniors, we'll increase the OAS and CPP, and for everybody, we'll reduce the taxable amount for middle class to savings $825. We will deliver the pharmacare and dental care programs to the families and seniors who earn less than $90,000 a year, which is 60% of Grey Bruce residents. We will strengthen Canada's food security by investing in greenhouses, hydroponics, and other controlled environmental agriculture, which is keeping consumer costs down. We will work to increase the resilience of food supply chains and support innovation and help Canadian farmers get their goods to market at lower cost.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. And now we have one final question before we move on to our audience questions. The last question deals with Canada on the international stage. What do you see as Canada's role in ending the conflict in Palestine and establishing a lasting peace? Anne, from the United Party, you are up first.
Well, I think it's twofold. First of all, the Israel-Palestine conflict is probably the longest running and most complex geopolitical issue of our time. So what's Canada's role? First of all, we have to acknowledge that there are horrific atrocities on both sides. As Canadians, we must prioritize peace, understanding, and the protection of human dignity on all sides. But let's bring this back to Canada. What does it mean here? And what does it mean when we have Palestinian protests? We're not talking about the average Muslim, who I count many of them as friends. We're talking about militant Islam. So I think we need to stick with Canada, which, you know, militant Islam is not compatible with our culture, customs, and values. We're witnessing militant Islamic protests that have led to violence and incitement. That has no place in our democratic society. So the United Party of Canada firmly believes freedom of speech, freedom to protest peacefully, and fundamental rights. But violence and extremism must be condemned in Canada unequivocally. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And we'll go to Pavel from the People's Party.
Yes, we cannot accept conflict behind our border and bring it to Canada. So Canada is a sovereign country, and we can, we have peacekeepers in our military service. When we support peaceful resolution for all people who are in conflict, and we accept all human rights for people in Palestine, Israel, in Ukraine, everywhere. So our priority is to be peaceful and resolve conflict with peaceful means. Like I was working with many Muslim people, and we have to decide they are Muslim peaceful or Muslim militant. And this is problem that so many Muslims are, I have friends, so many Muslims are okay, but minorities like militant and they won't fight. We cannot accept this. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Next up is Natasha from the Green Party.
So I'll keep this a little bit short. I don't believe in genocide. I don't remember it myself, but I also know it's happened here in Canada once upon a time. So I do not believe in genocide whatsoever, and I also believe in peace and communication. So make rich.
Thank you, Natasha. Alex from the Conservative Party.
Thanks. So, I mean, obviously a challenging question when we're dealing with how do we try to solve another country's problem or conflicts. First off, we need to support the people there, and they need to be given a democratic opportunity to elect people that actually want peace and stability in their region. Specifically, Canada can continue to help contribute to the peace in the region, though, through our military. We actually have two military operational deployments in the region. Proteus, which is very much focused on supporting Canada's contribution to the Office of Security Coordination for Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Those members provide the Palestinian Authority security forces with training, advice, and support. They support the development of training programs for the Palestinian Authority security forces to aim to improve them professionally. It develops their ability to keep their citizens safe and secure, and it does promote peace in the region. As well, we have Operation Jade, I should say, which is specifically the mission in the Middle East under the United Nations Truce Supervision Organization. It's actually our longest-serving mission. We've had Canadian Armed Forces personnel there since 1954. So I think that's a key way we can continue to promote and encourage that the countries involved are following the rules of law, and we can get to a peaceful solution sooner than later.
Thank you, Alex. Anne-Marie, Liberal Party.
Whenever we see injustice in the world, I feel that we need to speak up as Canadians, human beings, and caring world citizens. The conflict in Palestine is a tragedy and has gone on for far too long. Thousands of people have been killed, many of whom were innocent in any role in the war and were simply trying to live, feed their families, and find safety. I believe the only solution is finding peace. Both cultures must respect each other's culture, religion, and language. I feel that Canada must stop selling or buying guns to and from Palestine, suspected Hamas, and Israel. We must maintain and continue to fund humanitarian efforts and work to prevent racism against both and all other cultures in this country. Canada can and should have a role as a peacekeeper once Israel and Palestine come to an agreement, as we have done many times before. If invited, Canada should attend and work to settle a peace accord between both countries. Regardless, the killing must stop.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. And finally, Christopher from the NDP.
I'd like to start with a point of personal privilege. Dr. Gillies, you referred to these militant protesters. I'm not sure who you're talking about. I am one of the folks who have protested for Palestine. We are not militant. What we believe in is human equality, and I am offended, frankly, by that comment. I think it is completely out of touch with reality. I want to go further and say that a two-way weapon embargo with Israel is absolutely necessary. We do not send weapons to any country, friend or foe, who is committing crimes against humanity. We must uphold the Rome Statute. We signed it. We brought international law. We have to support it. That means that individuals charged with war crimes on both sides by the ICC, those warrants must be upheld by Canada. Folks, we've heard a lot about honoring peace, but peace is going to come with honoring the Oslo Accords, moving towards a two-state solution that benefits both Israel and Palestine. It's going to require the dissolution of Hamas, and it's going to require us to support democratic movements in Gaza that'll work with the Palestinian Authority to negotiate in good faith with Israel. But one more thing I really need to talk about, and that is reconstruction. The damage in Gaza is beyond description. It'll take 15 years to reconstruct under the best circumstances, and that is if we have absolute peace and no qualifications at the border. It's going to require an international investment that we have not seen since the Second World War, and we have to be ready to invest in that. It's not enough to stop the bombs from falling. We have to rebuild the homes, rebuild the shattered families. There are so many wounded. There are so many killed. It's going to take so long to fix, folks. We have to be in it for the long haul if we want peace. Peace is an investment, not something you just get for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Anne, you were mentioning Christopher's response. Would you like 60 seconds?
60 seconds. You need to visit some of our cities, and you need to see what's going on with Palestinians protesting and tearing up the Canadian flag. That's a violent act. Yeah. It is a violent act, and they are accosting people. This is not about peaceful protesting. This is about violence that is happening against Canadian people, and it's militant Islam. Remember, I said it's not about my Muslim friends. It's about militant Islam, and we need to address the subjects in Canada that need to be addressed.
Am I allowed to?
Unfortunately, we can't go back and forth all night. There are good points there on both sides, but if anybody would like to ask any more questions of the candidates on this or any other topics tonight, they will all be available after the meeting to meet with you and talk to you about anything that's been mentioned and, of course, any questions we didn't get to ask here tonight. With that, I do want to move to the audience portion of the questions here tonight. We have about 45 minutes left in the evening. Again, we will not have time for every question, but I will do my best to get through all of the questions for our candidates. In the last round, we went from left to right on the table, so this round we will go from right to left, answering one after the other. The first question submitted from the audience: I believe every issue should be looked at with an eye to the environment and climate change. How will you and your party manage this in light of all of the other issues? And we will start with you from the United Party.
Thank you very much. Well, climate change does seem to be an issue, but I believe that Canadians should be taking care of our environment. We should not be depending on global organizations and the Paris Accord to dictate to us how we take care of our environment. Not only that, we only contribute 1.5% of the world's emissions. We need to be treating China and India, who are really the culprits with emissions, and deal with them. Canada should take care of its own. We have the ability, we have the technology, and that's what I believe we should be doing.
Thank you, Anne. Christopher from NDP.
Folks, I couldn't agree more with whoever asked this question. It does all come down to the environment, because while we may face an economic crisis, the environmental crisis has not ended. So, folks, I've got 3 words for you: Green New Deal. I think we can fix the economy and we can become sustainable at the same time. We're prepared to invest billions in the creation of an east-west energy grid, which will allow Canada to move to green energy production. This is going to create millions of construction jobs across the country and drive up demand for steel and aluminum made by Canadian manufacturers. We can invest more in manufacturers, invest in workers, and we're going to use unionized workers to make it happen. Beyond this, we're going to implement and expand the retrofit programs that are going to allow low-income housing to retrofit their homes to be energy efficient. This will save low-income families money, and it's going to make us more environmentally sustainable. In the short term, we're going to go low income. In the long term, we're going to be giving this to everyone who qualifies. Beyond that, folks, we are saying no new pipelines and no more subsidies to oil and gas. Some of my opposition, they believe you can give money to oil companies on Monday and then on Tuesday demand we stop using it. We're going to take those billions and invest them in retraining for green energy production and into the manufacturing of green energy infrastructure. We take that money, put it to the transition. That's how we do it. We build better and we build stronger. We build healthier. We can do it.
Thank you, Christopher. We'll go to Anne Marie from the Liberal Party next.
Thank you. So, as always, the environment is at the very root of all of our policies. We do actually honor the Paris Accord, and we don't want to lose our European trading partners. So it is at the base of everything. So our party is protecting and preserving the natural environment. We're creating national parks, and that includes water parks, not for the type that kids play at, and urban parks as well. We are encouraging and incentivizing the use of development of green energy and technology. We have a drive to emission-reduced technology and energy in Ontario, and it's incentive-driven. I can hardly read my writing. We are providing incentives for greenhouse building and new technology. We are encouraging the use of private and public partnerships that will also incorporate greenhouse building techniques. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Just quickly, I've been asked to remind the audience that we are taking written questions, so if you have not had an opportunity yet to get a pen and paper and write down your question, just put your hand up and one of our volunteers will come and see you. And we will go to Alex now from the Conservative Party.
Thanks. Look, I believe in supporting our environment and conservation right across Canada, but it needs to be done in a pragmatic and responsible manner. Canada is responsible for 1.5% of the greenhouse global gas emissions. However, if we were actually to get our liquefied natural gas to market and get a national energy corridor and be able to get and displace foreign dirty oil and dirty natural gas and coal, if we were able to replace India and China's coal production with Canadian liquefied natural gas, we'd actually lower global greenhouse gas emissions by over 20%, making a real change across the world. Conservative government believes in technology, not taxes, and this includes supporting great industry that we have right here in our backyard. I was proud to help support Hydrogen Optimize as they can become a world leader in green hydrogen right here in our backyard and bring 500 jobs potentially here to our region. We have Ice River down in the Feversham area that's, again, recycling our plastics and doing a phenomenal job of, and actually doing it. I don't think half of you know how many water bottles are actually produced right here or in our backyard. And I was just at Max Solutions here in Owen Sound this morning, touring their facility, more concerned about the tariffs. But what's the thing right up the front? They're top-rated platinum organization and environmental protection. So these are all things that we can do to actually take care of the environment locally. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. And we'll next go to Natasha from the Green Party.
So climate change is here, and I see this because it's impacted my family greatly. We had to walk away from our fishing business in 2018. I'm sure with all of us living near a Great Lake, Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, etc., we see that there's no ice. We can also see that it's impacting, I can see how it's impacting our fisheries. I can also see how it's impacting water quality. So these are things that we need. I think we need water. I'm not too sure if the crops and what have you need it, but I think nature has a wonderful way of protecting us. And if we protect the nature, nature in itself will protect us. It has given us wonderful water. It provides us wonderful soil. We have a lot of tree friends that give us oxygen. If we value them for the job that they're doing for us for free and protecting them, we can actually have many generations to live here and to be able to enjoy what we have. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. And we'll go to Pavel from the People's Party.
I think and the People's Party of Canada actually decided to remove from Paris Agreement because climate change is always happened. 1,000 years, 1 million years, always climate change was different. And here in Canada, we are supporting clean air. But I see so many, almost every day I see chemtrails above my head and spraying some chemicals. So what is clean? What is climate change? In Canada, actually, we have a long winter, and my daughter has a Tesla electric car. She won't save gas, but in Canada, when we have minus 30, minus 20 degrees, they can drive like 50 kilometers, and they have to charge battery again. So this is a problem with green energy, and the batteries are making in Africa and these countries, they have to use child labor for these products for batteries. So it's not so easy. Of course, we want to save environment, but China never talk about saving environment, and climate change is for China is nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Next question has to do with crime. Do you support the Conservative proposal to increase prison sentences to life in jail for some crimes without chance of parole? Why or why not? And for this one, we'll start with Christopher from the NDP.
Folks, I'm categorically against this program. It frankly is illogical. First, Poilievre proposes that he will extend life sentences by using the notwithstanding clause. Well, the minimum sentence for a violent crime such as manslaughter in this country is 25 years to life, which means that in order to prevent parole, and to be clear, this is an effort to prevent parole, which is a human right. This is not an effort to extend the sentence. The sentence is already life. But in order to do that, the proposal of using the notwithstanding clause is ridiculous. That has to be renewed every 5 years. That would mean you would need 6 successive governments to use this extraordinary measure just to begin to bring it into implement. It is not a realistic plan. Beyond that, it's a denial of our charter rights. And folks, let me tell you something. When they can take your charter rights away, they can take more. It is not a good idea. It is a slippery slope. You protect that charter. It's the most important document in our country, and you protect it. And the idea of dismantling it for something this, frankly, absurd makes no sense. Folks, our justice system is built on the notion of rehabilitation. That is why we allow for parole. Parole is granted to those who have been rehabilitated. It's not a guarantee. It's not supposed to be. If we take away that right, then we acknowledge that our justice system is not rehabilitation, it's retribution, and that is a violation of human rights. So I am completely and totally against what I think is a ridiculous platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. We'll go to Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party.
Thank you. So, no, I'm not in support of this Conservative plan to increase prison times for some crimes. I think that the crime and punishment balance right now are in sync, and they have been created by a legal system that is working just fine most of the time. As in every system, there's going to be some tweaking done. I have to agree with that. I am concerned that we don't have enough prisons for all of the prisoners that Pierre Poilievre and his government want to send to jail. We don't have enough prisons, so we're going to need to build more prisons. That's going to be a huge cost. What's he going to do? Privatize the prisons? That was an experience that didn't work in the United States, and it's going to be at great cost. It will cost $4,000 a day per inmate to keep these people in jail. So I believe, too, it will only create more criminals because they're going to learn new systems and new ways of being criminals while they're there, and they're not going to be rehabilitated when they come out. They're going to be worse criminals than they were before when they went in.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Alex, Conservative Party.
Yeah, thanks. So look, who are we talking about here? We're talking about fentanyl traffickers that have killed over 50,000 Canadians over the last decade. Illegal gun trafficking. A murderer that's murdered 6 people is getting out in jail or getting eligible for parole, not for life, which is what the sentence is supposed to be. As Chris pointed out, 24, 25 years, eligible parole at 16 or whatever it is. The point is it should be served for life. Human trafficking. I have an 11-year-old daughter. If my daughter ever got trafficked, I mean, I'll be in jail because it is unacceptable to have somebody doing that to our youth. For too long, we have had criminals, these worst violent repeat criminals. This is why the police associations have come out in endorsing Mr. Poilievre and the Conservative plan here. This is why they're so upset. I had police officers last night after the debate saying they're so frustrated with the Liberal bail, not jail sort of platform of where we're releasing violent repeat criminals time and time again. They're rearresting, and the paperwork is ridiculous. And to address Chris's point, it is actually within the Constitution under Section 33, the notwithstanding clause, so it isn't against the Constitution. It's right there written in the Constitution.
I was mentioned.
Chris, I'll give you 60 seconds very quickly.
Thank you. So, folks, I want to address what Alex said about the notwithstanding clause. Yes, the notwithstanding clause does empower the federal government, or provincial, really. It's never been used federally. But it empowers a provincial government to suspend Section 2, Section 7, and Section 15. If you're curious what these rights include, these include your fundamental freedoms, such as freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. It includes your bodily sovereignty, your right to not be imprisoned unfairly. It also is your equality. Personally, I don't think the government should even have that power. And the idea of the federal government saying cavalierly that it wishes to suspend our rights is, to me, wrong. Alex, with respect, yes, notwithstanding clause in the Charter, so is Section 2, so is Section 7, so is Section 15, and those matter, especially when this policy doesn't even make sense.
All right, thank you, Chris. I'm sure we're all going to go home and reread the Charter now after this. Let's go to Natasha next from the Green Party.
Thank you.
So I think putting people in jail for longer term is pretty harsh. I think we need to look at being more proactive. We need to find out why they went to jail. What were the struggles? Why did they come to the choice in their life of why they chose that direction? I'm very sure they wanted to be able to have a job, have a house, have a family, do the normal things, and to be able to carry on with their lives. I'm very sure they did not foresee themselves at the age of 8 years old, seeing themselves looking at a 25-year life sentence. I can't imagine having a lot more jails. The cost to be able to maintain jails, the amount of food, the amount of security, the amount of even just the basic things like hydro, and a lot of those things that need to happen. We need to figure out why people are making these decisions and support them so that they don't feel they have to make these decisions in lives, and to be able to protect them when they come back out, to rehabilitate them into the greater population again. Throwing away a key is not a solution. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. We'll go to Pavel from the People's Party.
People's Party of Canada have a decision that our self-defense rights are protected, and when we have criminals and multiple criminals, they are coming from jail again and they do the same. We have to punish them, but we support law-abiding citizens to keep firearms and protect themselves against criminals. So this is very important that like we live in rural areas and we need to protect because when you call police come too late. So we support law-abiding citizens and we are against criminals and we won't keep them in jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. And we will go to Anne from the United Party.
Thank you, and I totally agree with Alex. First of all, thank you to our police force. Thank you, because Canadians deserve to be protected. That's why we have jails. That's why we have sentences. That's why we put criminals in jail. And I believe that we need to be protected from violent criminals. I'm not talking about 15-year-olds. Well, that can be violent too, so I better be careful how I gauge that. But they don't get put in jail for life. We need to be protected from violent criminals, from those who commit sex crimes. Child sex trafficking earns more than drug trafficking. It's very lucrative. So these criminals, I mean, there's a desire to keep reoffending. We can't allow that. They need to be incarcerated. And you know, we do have rule and law in Canada, but we don't implement it very well, especially these last 8 years. We need severe punishments for criminal gun use, drug and human trafficking, and we need to implement them to the full extent of the law.
Thank you, Anne. Our next audience question. Single game sports betting was legalized by the federal government in 2021, but there is no frameworks to regulate the industry, including celebrity endorsements. This has resulted in a marked increase in problem gambling and its effects. What would your government be willing to do to reduce gambling harms? Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party, you're up first.
Okay, well, I'm not a big favor of sports betting, to say the least. I think that I was very dismayed to see the advertisements start to come on the television. I was even more dismayed when I saw some of the celebrities there. I lost all respect for Wayne Gretzky when I saw him do his first commercial. I mean, seriously, does the man need more money? So while I cannot speak for the Liberal government at this time, I can certainly speak for myself. And if and when I get elected as MP, this is going to be something that I am going to raise, and I'm going to raise strictly. We should have legislation controlling this. We control the consumption of alcohol. We control what age children can go into casinos. We have warnings at casinos about getting too deep into the betting and stuff like that. So why are we not controlling online and televised advertising for it, sports betting? I think we need to do more. We need to protect our citizens. We need to deal with this as an addiction, which is quite often what it leans into. We're talking about other addictions with alcohol and drugs. Well, this is an addiction as well. I feel strongly about this. We have to get this legislated. We need to get this under control, and we need to do something about the use of celebrities to promote this.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Alex from the Conservative Party.
Yeah, look, this is a bit of a tough one for me because ultimately Canadians should be able to do what they want to do as long as it's not promoting hatred and violence on others. This legislation was passed federally. However, with the celebrities that choose to partake and want to endorse and make a business deal, that's sort of their right. And limiting on what it's aired on is actually provincial jurisdiction, not federal jurisdiction. So we're getting into a complicated issue here of who's responsible for what. The trick when you try to do it online, I mean, I don't know, as I said earlier, I have a young daughter. we can put parental controls on what she can do it, and she doesn't have access. At least I don't. Her allowance isn't big enough that she's making big money bets on the side. Normally, if we make a bet, it's for yes day or something where I got to do everything she tells me to do during the day. So, look, to be frank, like, this has never really been debated at length ever at the federal, even when the bill went through. Yeah, there's concerns. I think we do need to be responsible about how we're doing it. But this, to me, to be frank, I've knocked on over 5,000 doors here in the last few weeks, and it's never came up once.
Thank you, Alex. We'll go next to Natasha from the Green Party.
So I don't know much about it because I haven't gambled in a long time. But and I don't actually pay attention to those kinds of commercials. That's the time you get up and go do some dishes or do some laundry or, do other practical things than watching commercials. So I'm a bit of a loss right now. But I would think, like gambling, like from what I understand, it's it's addiction. So we're going back to mental health, and also why are people wanting to double their money? Is it because they can't pay the rent? Is it because they can't pay the car payment? Are they investing $20 hoping that it triples or whatever it is, that they can win $1 million and buy a house? What's the underlying concern of why people gamble? Is it trying to make a quick money? Is it trying to get food on the table? I can understand that. I can't understand watching commercials. I can't understand watching people promoting weird and wonderful things out there. But I do believe that we can look at it again and look at it as a mental health issue and coming up with supports. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. We'll go to Pavel from the People's Party.
Gambling, I think, is a mental issue, and we don't like too much control from government. Like, I remember communists, they controlled everything in your life, and it's impossible to have some free life when everybody is controlling you. So this is problem that I had a coworker, he was gambling, and he said, I spend $100 and I go home. But problem is why we have gambling machines and this stuff that they never lose money. People lose money. So this is, I think, a mental issue, because if somebody decides, oh, I lost money, I don't go anymore, I'm okay. But people have mental problem that, oh, next time, I win something. So this is, we have to resolve mental issues, not controlling from government. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. And we'll go to Anne from the United Party.
Thank you. Well, this is something that I really don't have a lot of information to weigh in on, but what I would say, I would agree very much that this is an addiction problem. We have a very bored society of young people. They can't get jobs, they're not doing some stuff, that they could be doing perhaps. And what we're seeing is that gambling, and I have seen this personally, is destroying young families. It's destroying marriages. It's destroying the whole family unit. So I mean, the government endorsing gambling on any level, I am kind of challenged with, but we need to address this, particularly as an addiction. And when it comes to advertising, who is watching these advertisements? Our young people, our young adults. I mean, sure, maybe you are too, but you as you're a little bit older, you're not so likely to get a gambling addiction or any other kind of addiction, not likely. So it's our young people that are targeted again. And, they're already under such pressure, so I really would disagree to have those ads on.
Thank you, Anne. And we'll go to Christopher from the NDP.
So, folks, we've seen similar legislation in the U.S., although, as always, to a more extreme degree. That does seem to be the pattern. And the results have been disastrous. We've seen gambling debts going up significantly, and I'm afraid that's going to happen here if we don't regulate this. I remember once, this was probably some night where I was supposed to be marking, and I came across this video on YouTube, and it's, when you see a car crash, you shouldn't look, but something kind of makes you feel like I have to at least take a look. Well, I clicked on it, and the video was a gambling addict who was online gambling, and he managed to make over $100,000 in about 30 seconds, clearing all of his debts, and then the next 15 seconds, lose it all. And it was heartbreaking. It's horrible. I stand in no judgment of anyone's vices or pleasures. We all have things we like to do, but we got to regulate it. We regulate in-person gambling, we regulate alcohol consumption, we regulate cannabis, we got to regulate this too. And the idea of having these celebrities endorsing gambling on sporting events, I think it destroys the purity of it. And I think it promotes impulsive behavior that harms people. I'm not against gambling existing as a regulated industry, but I am against a deregulation. And I would prefer to see that gambling remains a regulated system, not a system where we encourage people to act impulsively and potentially destroy their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Alex?
Yeah, just because I had the privilege of being in Parliament when this bill was passed, I believe, I believed it passed unanimously, so all the parties actually supported this bill when it went through the House of Commons. I'm not 100% sure about the Greens, but I'm confident in stating that the other parties did approve it, because there's a way to take money out of criminal organizations. It controls the issue a little bit better, not taken away from the comments made about addiction issues and mental health and all those important things to have protections and safeguards. But the way the bill was written at the federal level to allow single game betting, I believe it passed unanimously.
Thank you, Alex. Alex is going to have first honors on our next audience question. What is your stance on the need for electoral reform in Canada? Is the first past the post system working well? Alex, you're up first, sir.
Look, interesting question, and one that I'm actually fairly comfortable in answering. So, the Conservative Party of Canada, right in our policy declaration that's been around, I think, for 21 years now, states very clearly that the Conservative Party of Canada supports electoral reform. However, any electoral reform must be done through referendum. A couple of years ago, NDP MP Lisa Marie Barron put forward Motion 86, a motion to study, to have a citizens' assembly formed to study electoral reform and make recommendations to the government. Again, I had this opportunity. In fact, I see some of them in the audience today that approached me because they wanted me to support it. I had enough time. I put that question out to every single one of you that reside in Bruce-Grey-Owen Sound through a survey to the 45,000 plus households. 87% of you that replied said yes, support it. So myself, Conservative MP Ben Lobb, and MP John Nader, Conservative MP John Nader, all representing this neck of the woods, all supported that motion. It was still defeated because the majority of Liberal and Conservatives voted against it. But the bottom line, if it would have had that one extra line in it that said, as long as it was decided by referendum, it likely would have passed. So I still support our first past the post, but bottom line, there's always room for improvement.
Thank you, Alex. Natasha from the Green Party.
So I support it. I support it because I think it allows a lot of different voices to be heard and to be understood, and to be able to, the stories to be shared and the information to be shared. It's not just one voice, and it's a community that can come together, because not everybody is comfortable talking to one party or another, but they might be very comfortable talking to one of the people that they trust. So they're able to bring those stories forward, and that's the other thing, is to build relationship. We also need a lot of education around it, because I understand that, that's maybe why there's a bit of hesitation around it, is people don't understand how that works. So I think that's the first step for this, is to do a little bit of education on it. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. Pavel from the People's Party.
Thank you. I can say that we support electoral reform, and I can give you an example. In 1989, after Velvet Revolution in communist countries, we had first free elections after 42 years. And we had 105 parties for first free elections. After first elections, next elections came with 35 parties, because bottom line was that who make 5% and less, they cannot go to parliament. So some parties lose this 5%, 4%, 3%, so they didn't go to parliament. But still, after 30 years almost, we still have 15 parties, and they are fighting for election to win. So we never have a majority. We always have like combination and an agreement between parties who will go to government. So they have to sign some negotiation between parties, and they go to government and they rule again for the next 4 years. So I think that this is a good idea to have not only majority, but other parties has to say something too. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. And we'll go to Anne from the United Party.
I'll keep this very short. I do agree with you, Alex, and I do agree with having that line in there, because we need to make sure we've got all our T's crossed and I's dotted. So I think it's very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Christopher, NDP.
Folks, I want to start by thanking Alex for supporting the discussion over this issue. I wish more representatives in Ottawa were taking this as seriously. I believe that we need to move first past the post. It's an antiquated system which was designed for a very early system of parliamentarism that honestly is very 17th century. And we're in the 21st century now. Most parliamentary systems in the world have moved past this. We're amongst the very few. The United States, UK, and if memory serves, Israel as well, are some of the only countries with a parliamentary or congressional system that still uses first past the post. It doesn't reflect the interests of the Canadian people to do it this way. Our party is in favor of a proportional mixed system, which basically means that we would still have local candidates elected so that our ridings still have a say in who speaks for them, but we add additional seats to the House that would be based on the proportionality of votes. This way, local communities can still pick the person they want, but at the same time, we also have proportional representation. I do have concerns about the referendum, and that is because we attempted that. In fact, my mom might remember when we had the referendum, she asked me what to vote on, yes or no, because it was so convoluted and poorly explained that nobody knew what they were voting for. I was lucky my civics teacher happened to teach it to us. And the reality is, folks, that if we go to referendum without seriously educating the public, it won't work. Thanks.
Thanks, Christopher. And Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party.
Thank you. Well, this is actually a question that I have heard at the door posed to me, and by a couple walking their dog on the street, so that was an interesting conversation. I do support, and I see a need for electoral reform, at least for the consideration for electoral reform. There are many different ideas in this country, and our system should represent many Canadians' ideas. We're a wide, large, diverse country, and are we being represented fairly and appropriately is a question we have to review from time to time. Other countries are using different forms of democratic governments, and their governments work. Some of them work better than others, and that's all right too. I have to agree, the last time Justin Trudeau promised to consider electoral reform, the Commission did not do its job properly, and nor did it do it very well. It was disappointing. I think that it needs to be done again. We need to gather people's opinions from across the country. They should be reevaluated, another study done, broadly discussed, and then you know what? Yes, a referendum should be mandatory for this.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. We have time for one more question before we have to get to closing statements. Again, I want to thank the audience for submitting all of these questions. There are some amazing questions here I wish I could get to, but we are running short on time. As a result of that, I'm going to give everyone 60 seconds to answer this final question. We'll be starting with Natasha from the Green Party. With misinformation becoming a growing issue, and considering that Canada is a huge and diverse country, geographically, in population, and culturally, what is your stance on the CBC as a unifying institution in this country? Natasha?
So, CBC. Well, I hope they're truthful about the hockey games. Yes, and I'm realizing, the Montreal's playing tonight right now. So, I don't know what the score is, and I wish it was. So yes, so I think we also need to do a lot of our own education. It's also our own responsibility to do our own research, to ask necessary questions, to do our own looking up and asking really difficult questions sometimes, and being okay with the answer, and sometimes not looking for the answer that we want, but just accepting the answer for what it is. And it's sometimes difficult. We can flip through many different news stations to find the answers we want. It may not be the answers that are actually truthful. So we need to do our own research. So we are responsible for misinformation and carrying it through. But we also listen, and we have to learn, and we have to also research and ask those questions time and time again. Miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. Pavel for the People's Party.
Thank you, Natasha. This is very good. Like when I came to Canada in 2000, I was listening to CBC, and I realized, it's like Communist Broadcasting Corporation. So I stopped to watch it, and I'm always doing some research to find truth, because who pay money for this propaganda? This government. And I prefer to all broadcasting has to be private or not paying from government, because if the government pay for this propaganda, it's going for government. So we cannot find truth. And I remember it from communist country. We had like communist government paid for all this broadcasting, and communists were the best.
Thank you, Pavel. We'll go to Anne from the United Party.
Will you just repeat the question to me?
Yes. What is your stance on the CBC as a unifying institution in Canada?
So, just to clarify, I'm talking to my friend. I thought you said CPC, and I'm going, what is he talking about? CBC as a unifying institution? I think we need to give our heads a shake when we think of that as a unifying institution. I think Canadians are getting pretty tired of being told what to think instead of getting news. We want actual news. We don't need to be told what to think or how to think. So I don't think it's at all unifying. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Christopher from the NDP.
I want to begin with a clear statement. The CBC must be protected at all costs. Folks, the CBC doesn't tell you what to think. It gives you the facts. You go from there. And my friends, if you want to suggest a news organization that is totally unbiased, where do you go? Fox News? Washington Post? Privately owned news organizations only represent the interests of their private owners, but publicly funded news institutions are accountable to us. Accountability and transparency are vital to a democracy. Folks, we lose the accountability and transparency provided to us by an accountable news organization that follows strict regulations. Then, folks, we lose access to our politicians, to what's happening in the world. We lose what comes the closest to being an unbiased news source. Folks, we need the CBC, and we will defend the CBC. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. We'll move to Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party.
Well, I'd like to say what he said, but I've got a few more words to it as well. CBC is considered an institution for a reason. It is the best source of news coverage in this country from coast to coast to coast. Stop. Stop. Okay. Shh. Thank you. It is providing an opportunity and reform to develop quality Canadian talent from singers and TV shows, television hosts, sports, and more. It's produced some of the best television seen in North America. It costs Canadians approximately $32 a year. Well, that's a bargain for adventure-free television to me. And it reflects our values, our language, and our diversity. We have to keep the CBC. It is a Canadian institution.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. And we will go to Alex now. Thanks, folks. We do have to move on for closing statements, but Alex, you do have 60 seconds.
Thanks. Look, I just want to share some facts. CBC, historically, phenomenal cultural media that has done great things in the past. Fewer people watch the CBC now than watch a single Pierre Poilievre YouTube video in Canada. That's how little it is being watched. So the issue is here, we're paying billions of dollars. We're paying CBC executives hundreds or millions of dollars in executive bonuses. And know what they're actually doing? They're taking money away from local media because they're competing for limited ad dollars. What a Conservative government will do, it'll boost the local journalism initiative by $25 million for local news. We won't censor media out there. We should have freedom of expression in Canada. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Now, very quickly, we're going to move on to closing statements. Each candidate will get 1 minute for closing statements, and we will go in reverse order from opening remarks. Don't worry, I wrote it down. You don't have to remember where you were. And you were last for opening, so you will be first for closing.
Thank you. Well, I want to focus on something that hasn't been talked about, and that's our children. They're facing incredible pressures that we never dreamed of. They're being purposely confused as to their God-given identity as male and female, and life doesn't get any more basic than that. Their childhoods are being robbed from them. In the midst of a total societal breakdown, we're experiencing a spiral of economic depression as the result of the last 8 years of the Liberal leadership. Enough is enough. Our region is full of hardworking, decent people. The United Party is not politics as usual. We stand for truth, justice, and real freedom, not just in words, but in action. So vote for me on Election Day.
Thank you, Anne. Next is Natasha from the Green Party.
So I want to say thank you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making this space available. So what I stand for is always the environment. It's also for future generations. I want to be able to say 7, 8 generations from now we'll be enjoying exactly what we have today, if not more, if not better. I also would like to be able to talk about community, how important community is in sharing stories, knowledge, strengths, and all the skills that we have out there. It's absolutely inspiring when the communities come together and share. We can also grow together and help each other. There's so many things that we can talk about. We can talk about agriculture and food and culture, and there's so many things that we share in this room. There's a lot more things in this room that bring us together than divide us. And with that, miigwech.
Thank you, Natasha. Next is Pavel from the People's Party.
They say diversity is our strength. I say unity is our strength, and we recognize only 2 genders, male and female. We People's Party. Thank you. People's Party won't open abortion debate again because we are a country like North Korea without any rules for abortion. We are protecting parental rights, so we want to repeal Bill C-4 because it is against parents. Thank you. Vote for me when we will People's Party of Canada, Pavel Smolko. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Alex Ruff is next from the Conservative Party.
So first off, I just want to thank the other candidates for putting their name forward. Again, putting your name forward is a huge endeavor. I want to thank all of you for partaking in our democratic process. For whichever one of us that has the privilege to get elected as the Member of Parliament for this riding, our job primarily is to listen to you and take your feedback. So I encourage you to continue to provide that feedback. Whichever one of us is in Ottawa can't represent you without that feedback, whether we like it or not, and it doesn't mean we'll always agree. So I'm asking you to give me that right to still be your voice in Ottawa, because that's what I honestly believe, and to vote for a Conservative plan for change that means that you can afford more food, more houses in a safer community, cut taxes, build more homes, lock criminals up so you're safe, and it puts Canada first. I'm asking for your support on April 28th. Vote rough.
Thank you, Alex. Christopher from the NDP.
Folks, I want to start by saying that diversity is our strength. We are unified in our inclusion of others. That's what makes us great. It's what makes us unique. I wouldn't give our diversity up for anything. Now, folks, what I want to say to you is, I want to plant that tree. I want to invest in young people. I want to invest in the future. I want to invest in our infrastructure to make our country greener and stronger. I want to rebuild our infrastructure so we can be competitive, so that we can facilitate free trade in Canada, so we're no longer reliant on the United States. And I want to do it by making working Canadians wealthier. I want to extend disability benefits. I want to extend dental care and pharmacare. I want to put the money into people, and I want to do it by taxing the ultra-wealthy. I want to get those billions of dollars that we lose every year in tax loopholes and offshore taxing, and I want to bring it back to us, the folks who need it, the folks who deserve it. It's our country, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. And Anne-Marie from the Liberal Party.
Thank you all for attending. I have 3 important priorities in my campaign: the tariff trade war, affordable housing, and health care. All of them are incredibly important, but none as much as the tariff trade war. Our sovereignty is at risk, and if we don't have our own nation, well, the rest don't matter. Once we create our own economy, develop new trade partnerships, we can address the other most important needs of Canadians, which are affordable housing for all and accessible health care. I have the background, the drive, and the passion to deliver on these goals. Vote for change, vote for me, Anne-Marie Watson, Canada Strong.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. And that is going to bring a conclusion to our evening here tonight. I do want to say a big thank you to these folks on stage for running in this election. Also, a big thank you to all of you who came out tonight and for watching on Rogers TV as well. Thank you to the Owen Sound and District Chamber for once again hosting this event. And I should say congratulations to Diane, who is retiring from the Chamber this Friday. Congratulations, Diane, on a great career representing business here in Owen Sound. On behalf of our sound technician tonight, Gary Byers, and Mark Perry, who's pushing the buttons back at the back of the room, thank you so much. Folks, do not forget to vote on Monday. Polls are open 9:30 to 9:30. If you are unsure of where your polling location is, 9 to 9. That was the advance poll times, which more than 1.5 million people, more than last election, voted in the advance polls. So a lot of people care about the issues. So elections.ca is the website to go to get your polling information. If you live in Owen Sound, you're probably voting here. So thank you again for coming tonight. Have a great night.
Due to the length of the preceding program, we now join the regularly scheduled program already in progress.
Museum and Archives for letting us use their really beautiful space today. We very much appreciate that. So welcome everyone to the Summerfolk, the Road to Summerfolk Youth Discovery Series. This is our Owen Sound preliminary, and this year we celebrate the 50th year of Summerfolk. So let's just take a minute. And so congratulations, Summerfolk, for that pretty big deal. I would also like to thank our sponsors for the evening. I would like to thank Grey Roots Museum and Archives, Long and McQuaid, Canadian Heritage, London Music Office, Ontario Arts, and the Ontario Arts Council. So I will get right into, I guess, like the meat and potatoes of how this all works, or tofu. All right. So how this works is everybody gets 8 minutes. There is a set list. It is posted in the little green room back there. If anyone hasn't seen it, please go check it out. When I announce the first performer, I will announce the next performer to come sit in the hot seat, which is these seats. But if you can raise it, go like this. Yeah, they're right there. So when I announce a performer, I will then announce who is in the hot seat, and that is who is next. That is your cue to quietly get whatever you need, and then bring it down in front of the stage here and wait for your turn. Everybody will get 8 minutes to perform. The judges will deliberate in between everybody's sets. At the end of the evening, 2 acts will be chosen to move on to our final, which will be at the Harmony Center in Owen Sound on May 3rd. And then from there, 5 acts.